Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us. We're glad to have you here for our very first Skilling Future Roundtable, the wake-up call, bridging educational gaps in the AI age. What are we missing? At Skilling Future, we believe in creating spaces for honest, urgent conversations, the kind that push us beyond trends and towards real intentional change. Today is one of those spaces. The very first one that we are hosting, but not the last one. It's first in the series where it is important that we talk about things that as educators, as parents, as educational leaders, what is it that the challenges that are present, what is it that we have learned, what are the opportunities that we have found in our spaces, and share those. Because again, it is with sharing that we get to see where all of us can go, and amazing ideas always pop up from unexpected places. So as AI continues to reshape education, it's becoming particularly clear that our educational systems are struggling to keep up. Students are graduating into a world that demands skills many haven't been taught. The gap is growing fast. Today, we are going to ask some questions that are about why are students still unprepared? What are the blind spots that we are not acknowledging? Or if we are acknowledging, why are we unable to address them? And how do we move from fear-based debates and this dichotomy of banning and then not banning, integrating to something that's more future-focused? We are honored to have two incredible voices with us. I'll be introducing them further ahead for this deep conversation and this bold thinking that, okay, what is it that we need to do further? This isn't a panel, it's a dialogue, and we're thrilled to have all of you as part of that. So let's shift to Shahida, and then she could talk about that, okay, what is it that we're doing, and then we will start with today's discussion.
All right. So, hi, everybody. Thank you, Sana, for that incredible intro. Thank you, everybody, for coming. One of the many things that we're going to discuss during our series, just to keep everybody engaged, are not only about the fears, but also about the hopes. We're going to talk about the uncertainty of best practices, which ones are the ones that we should apply in our own ecosystems. Many leaders feel unsure about how to implement something new without a proven model or even a roadmap. We are still in the process of you live and you learn, right? We're still in that process. Also, one of the many things that we'll be discussing during the series are learning how to balance innovation with tradition, where that conversation goes. We also feel that educators, as well as parents, and of course the school leaders, they are worried about disrupting long established methods that have worked out for their communities. And of course, with these new technologies that they sound so promising, where are the boundaries? Which are the ones that we should apply? How do we assess we are in that process? Another point that we consider is really important, that we also will be discussing in our further series and topics to come, are compliance, regulation. How is it that affect us as educators? How can we help not only our own ecosystems as leaders, but also the parents and of course the students? Equity concerns, and of course about last but not least, teacher training readiness, and how teachers feel in their everyday journey of this other thing that they have to train for and prepare. So thank you for coming and for being in our very first round table. We're really excited for this project and for you being here with us. So Shahida, up to you.
Thank you so much, everyone who have joined us here today. And we are glad that we are able to start this amazing roundtable sessions. The purpose is to develop a community where we can listen and promote the voices of all stakeholders, whether they are educators, they are school leaders, they are policymakers, parents, and also even students as well, because we believe that it's the full complete circle. So it is just not that if we are able to, give some trainings to educators, that will suffice. No, it's an entire ecosystem. So our focus is to promote voices from all parts of that ecosystem so that we can come up with suggestions, solutions, way forward for the school communities. Having said that, as and he has mentioned not only this roundtable, but beside that, we also believe that school leaders they have a lot of pressure beside educators because they have to lead the team. They are responsible for so many things, for bringing things to the community, bringing things to school, for educators, getting them trained, taking on board parents, board of governors, everything. So what I feel from my experience of being for more than 16 years as a school principal, I believe that the school leaders, they are the people because they have to lead the change. They should be helped most. So for this, we are going to start two things. One is one-to-one series with school leaders. I have started that, and where I engage in like 20 to 30 minutes one-to-one conversations with school leaders to know more about the challenges which they are facing, and like how and where we can help them out. So you can say those sessions are more of like catharsis sessions, where school leaders they can open up their heart and they can share anything. And I would not say like I can help them out, but at least being a person who has walked all the path of that leadership, maybe something can help them out. This is one thing. And another thing which we are will be starting soon from the commencement of new academic session. It is going to be the mentorship program for schools, where we will be developing the capacity of school teams so that they themselves can take charge of bringing that change into their own schools instead of relying some external organizations or external people to do things for them. So these are the things we will be having. So now I think, Andy, let's move to our roundtable now.
All right, Sana, you can just go ahead and do the introductions and I'll just, take it from there.
Okay. Let me introduce you to today's guest for the roundtable. The first one is Vanessa. Vanessa Willemse is a champion for digital empowerment in education and AI enthusiast and speaker who inspires educators to lead confidently in a tech-driven world. With over 3 decades of experience in program management as the provincial coordinator for digital skills training in Northern Cape Department of Education, she leads transformative initiatives in digital literacy, e-learning, and AI integration across South Africa. A dedicated mentor at Women Extension and a dynamic speaker, Vanessa prefers to be the guide on the side rather than the sage on the stage. Her passion lies in enabling educators and learners to think with AI, not just users, fostering nuanced, human-centric tech adoption in classrooms. So welcome, Vanessa. Thank you so much for joining us. Our second speaker for the day is Benita. Benita is an educational innovator and edtech leader with over 17 years of experience transforming K-12 learning. As a CEO of Mindspace and founder for I Am Perfect Academy, she pioneers AI integrated, culturally responsive, and immersive learning experiences. Her work spans curriculum design, instructional coaching, and launching micro schools, all rooted in a mission to disrupt limitations and create equitable, human-centered futures through responsible AI in education. Thank you so much, Benita, for joining us for today's session.
Well, so let's get started. Thank you, Sana. I would like to ask Vanessa, Benita, how did you get involved in, how did you get the spark about I need to get myself involved with artificial intelligence. How did you started integrating it into your life? Because I do understand that you have been early adopters, like most of the people that are coming in that I know very some of the people in this session, I know that they have been early adopters. So tell us a little bit about that journey and how did you start it? Because that is one of the most difficult decisions that we have right now, how to start, where to look, to whom I have to listen to. So please, I would really like to know about your journey.
Okay, let me go first. Um, yeah, if I look at my context, in our province, I need to train 13,000 teachers. And in the Department of Education, I'm the only voice and the only female voice as well, that speaks to digital or technology training. So when I first heard about AI, and it is such an amazing tool, and I've always been an early adopter. When I started teaching, with my first paycheck, I bought my own desktop so that I can be work smart, not hard. So I deep dove into AI, especially on LinkedIn, because there's different voices and different opinions. So you craft your own. Where do I fit in? And what can I take? What can I leave? Because for me, this means that it's the quick way for our province to leapfrog into the technology space without necessarily teachers being tech savvy, but they can use technology for instruction and for preparing our learners for the world they are going to live in. Benita.
Thank you, Vanessa. I too, just like Vanessa, coming in with close to 18 years and a foundation in computer science, but a passion for education. Over those years, I have been deeply enrooted with those students from underserved communities, overage, disengaged, where I was always bringing in education into my classroom, even as a mathematics teacher. It wasn't your standard math classroom. We were building gaming systems, we were building video games, we were doing robotics. So when I heard AI, it blew my mind. And listened to my kids about, oh, I wish learning offered this, I wish learning offered that. And I was like, so why do we have to wish that it offered it? It's right here for us. So I decided that I'm going to take the leap of faith and I'm going to be the innovator that brings it all in. I wanted to make sure that that cultural divide was closing so that I can prepare the students that I encounter and those educators into the world that is coming, to get them ready. But most importantly, give my students the upper hand of what they're going to step in outside of those four walls and what they can start building now with education, with AI, how they could go ahead on and start their entrepreneurial journey, their creative spark, and just kind of set the tone for the future that they have next coming after them. As I told them, why wait when we can start preparing today?
But and thank you so much for sharing this first part, because it actually goes with most of the research that we have done, based on the teacher is always the one that step, in first, and the educator is always the one that takes the lead of their own training process. Let's say they don't actually wait. Now we have found this issue all along our careers. For those that are educators here, we know where Benita and Vanessa are coming from. We definitely know that, because how interesting that, for example, in Vanessa's case, I relate with you, Vanessa, because it started more like a selfish thing. Like, okay, how is it that I can be more productive so I can be more present in the classroom? And in that particular case, I do understand where it comes from, and then it developed into something else. So how is it that, for example, you have transmitted into your own ecosystems, in your particular case, Vanessa, and then you, Benita, that you are in school, and you, Vanessa, that you take it you took it even further because you moved on and you took it into like the level of consultancy, and of course now you afterwards also, Benita. So what are the like many schools hesitate to adopt artificial intelligence. So what are like the conversations that you have been having to approach them successfully, in a positive way that it can actually come as an impact of change in those ecosystems?
Okay, what I did is I worked with our education faculty of the university, and not because I was the lone voice and I wanted to give it credibility. So I worked with the education faculty at the university, and we started with a pilot project of about 13 schools, primary schools, and that was 150 odd teachers. And went in the afternoons, did the training, exposed teachers to that. And the way that teachers could see the excitement in the room, the way that they could see how they can do better within their classrooms, especially when we have 12 official languages in South Africa. And they could then see that I can create resources for my learners in their mother tongue. That was when the excitement came, because teachers could then also speak to those learners in their mother tongue, via worksheets, via whatever they create, use the AI tool for. And what I also encourage teachers to do is, because there's this host of languages, I said, now, if you create, share with other teachers so that we have a cumulative effect of the tool, because they can use it as a resource bank for teachers as well, because the cost of creating resources for 13 languages is just astronomical. So there are languages that are left behind. And one of the teachers I trained, she created her own website where she is now posting and sharing these resources with other teachers. And I worked with primary school teachers, and the foundation phase, they were so excited, and they created their own websites for, if a learner is absent, the parents can just go on the website, download. And so, yeah, for me, that was for me the wow. Because to get teachers excited in this day and age is not easy. They mostly overworked and underpaid and underappreciated. So that for me was nice. And we spoke earlier about um, how I got involved, is that when I was still teaching, I was working with learners and teachers in terms of life skills training. So for me, I always try to use interesting approaches and strategies to get them hooked. And with AI, it's the easiest thing to hook people in. So, yeah.
Benita, let's talk about your experience, and then I would like to, build from there because this is so inspiring. I just love the fact that we are, like creating so diverse spaces and that really, really tailor education for what it's for where and what it's needed. So please, Benita, go ahead.
Mine is very similar. And you said something earlier, Andy, that a lot of teachers are stuck in that traditional model where they are scared to try anything new. So when AI surfaced, it took an act of Congress, to be honest. But then you had to start
Oh, you're breaking up
off
a
with
little.
speaking about citizenships, not just with you had to teach about bringing in the digital divide and teaching that digital citizenships with the teachers. It was something that they were afraid to jump in. So AI became that torch that I was allowed to carry, that I was allowed to speak. To them, it was somewhat of a foreign language. But when I was able to bring some of the leadership on about how we could use AI, even with the data to help out with our ESOL population. And the biggest impact was with our ELA teachers and say, for instance, the notebook LM and other things that we have. And I told them, imagine a world where if a student is absent and you already have your lesson recorded through notebook LM and you push that podcast out, they are with you 24/7. Not only that, you have our ESOL, our second language students that always have access where they might not understand you in front of the classroom, but they could play that recording back in their language, in their native tongue, and still get an understanding so that we could bridge that achievement gap, so that we could make sure we're pushing them forward to excellence. And when they were able to play around and we were able to sit down and do some personalized learning with the teachers, some one-on-one with them, as Vanessa said, the look on their faces, the wow moment is what actually took hold and allowed them to grasp and run with it. And they were always saying, where has this been? Do you not realize how many hours this could have taken off years ago? So my thing was always, okay, we know what could have happened years ago, but let's talk about what we could do with it now. And it went from one phase of an implementation to a full rollout phase where we are now able to utilize a whole lot more because there are more models being pushed out every single day. And as I always tell the teachers, make sure you find at least 5 models that you know and like, but also listen to those conversations in the classroom because AI has given you back time to be what is truly an educator and a facilitator so that you could hear those conversations and hear the other models that those students are using. In order to make sure that our students are achieving, we got to meet them where they are. So that means that the students are talking about a model that you haven't heard, go and play around with it. How can you utilize that in your classroom? And then you bring that curiosity in your classroom by creating, it could be a problem-based learning project so that they can say, oh, so my teacher was listening to me. They did understand that. And it allows ownerships on both sides and buy-in for the teachers and the students. And once the students see that, hey, they're allowing me to learn the way I want to learn on my level, it's a win-win on both sides. The teachers get back what they need, and the students get to further their learning and their curiosity.
One and this cannot be like greater because this very morning I building up on what you're saying, Benita, I was still having this conversation with this educator. She's from the UK, and it's not only that the democratization of artificial intelligence has brought the idea of like, yes, you can be a lot more productive and your teaching can be a lot more effective. But it also brought back into the classroom the importance of really putting in first place the critical thinking of the student. because of course we are in systems that are so much goal oriented, but the way that we are goal oriented, it is also really it's useless for what we so say that artificial intelligence is destroying, which is critical thinking. I think that there are so many things that, thanks to this democratization, we are revisiting. Let's, for example, talk about AI ethics. Thanks to that and being so intense about and realizing how important it is to keep, the human in the loop, it is so important that we're getting back to this more humanistic vision of education, and that in so many schools, and you can agree or not on the chat, I would like to listen to you about that. In so many schools, the budget has been cut out because there was no space for the philosophy teachers or for the ethic teachers, or at least in most of the schools that I have worked in the past, they were like, well, sorry, that is something that is redundant. Let's give it to the STEM, budget, which is totally fine. We totally understand it. But now, thanks to this new vision, it is so important to see exactly that, how we need to balance both in order to have a much more rounded human being in the AI era. So, because of this, I would like to know from your perspective, and then after this, we can just open the mic for everybody else to jump on. I really would like to know what are the frameworks or like the systems that you have sort of like applied in order to very smoothly integrate, AI in your educational systems and your trainings.
Let me just unmute. Um, yeah, the what I've been doing is in terms of ethical AI training is because we have such large numbers of teachers, what I've been doing is training subject coordinators, subject advisors at the district and the provincial level so that they can individualize their own subjects for their teachers and do training that is relevant to their teachers. They then go out and train teachers, but I take them through a 5-day course that is very intensive, and they create their own and the training is scaffolded so that in each term there's one training specifically for teachers on new approaches, new strategies, new tools that they can use. In the last training in the previous quarter, we had a serious training on brisk in terms of how teachers can use that. And I always go to the EU's AI policies and guidelines because as a province, as a country, in our education system, we still don't have any legislative framework for us to work on.
And I will say my training is very much similar. Mine's can definitely start off with a teacher reaching out, and it's full personalization, starting off with a needs assessment and a skills matrix, utilizing that data to figure out what is it that they truly are looking for AI to do for them. Looking at what do they hope to get out as the end product for their students, and allowing them to tell me some of the AI that they have heard about while introducing that ethics and making sure they learn a little bit about that ethics and that governance. and taking them through that small personalized training of at least 5 of the comfortable AI tools that they have heard or they have talked about or utilized in their own personal lives, and showing them how they could infuse this into their teaching so that it could be more impactful, so that they could help extend that pipeline within the school, so that they could go back and be ambassadors as well, be innovators as well, and teach others. My biggest thing that I will like to continue to push out is more of a content area part where I am introducing it as content wise and helping out on a larger scale of how we could utilize this. We have those policies and governance in place, but the thing that we're missing, most importantly, is how do we need to utilize it as a district and how we're utilizing it as a school? Because I noticed that you have schools within the same district that are utilizing it completely different, and it needs to be on the same page if we're truly going to discuss ethics and governance and AI, and if we're truly going to become digital citizens and AI literate. Because as I always tell the teachers, AI is not replacing human, but it is helping us amplify our human potential to making things greater for us, making it easier, and it's helping us bridge the gap of what we need to be so that we could truly go back to making education a catalyst for all, to a catalyst for innovation, a catalyst for improvement, citizenship, so that we can truly become a great nation.
I would like to take one of your keywords that was limitations. So, on that note, I would like, if everybody agrees, let's open up the mic for everybody else to participate. Of course, first come, first served. We just raise our hand, or if we see the opportunity, we just open our mic, and that's it. You'll have about a minute. I don't know if Sana it's going to put like a chronometer. So if that's on, we can use that. And because we're talking about limitations, I would like to ask you, what are like maybe 3 limitations that you find in currently right now as school leaders, as the decision makers in the classroom as well? What are those limitations that you have found in your school systems, perhaps in your district, if that is your situation, that have slowed down your AI integration in the classroom and your ecosystem for that matter? So I'm going to let that sink in. And for those who want to participate, with the open mic, go ahead. Otherwise, just go ahead and use the chat. I think that we already have one answer. Sana, can you read that one, please?
That is by Ali Rahman. And the question that I had posed there was, what is the biggest challenge in your context related to AI integration? And he talked about that, okay, the biggest challenges is how to use AI in the best way, as it is broad, and how to use to get the same and accurate results. And even when we are not sure whether the provided results are valid or unreliable or not, this is definitely a concern. And with regards to the question that you had posed, I think so that as both as an educator, part of the coordinating team as well within my own context, I feel at times if there isn't the space for experimentation present within our classrooms, then we wouldn't be able to experiment. And the creativity that an educator brings in, that isn't there. We need to, and I talk about it a lot, that, okay, as educators, we need to reassess um, where our systems are leading us. And with AI, the cracks within the system are being made more visible. That, okay, this is what the issue was. Students, it's not that students are now disengaged. The issue with disengagement within the classrooms had been talked about for the past couple of years. This is not the first technology that has been talked about, that, okay, students are not paying attention, they're not studying, they're not critically evaluating. Maybe there are other things that we need to reassess about our education system. So I feel if the space is not present there, and if there is the syllabus is too structured with respect to, okay, this is this every day that you have to do, then it becomes really very challenging for an educator, even a motivated educator, to go every day and then think about, okay, I want to try this out. I want to equip my learners with these skills, but I don't know how. The second, I think, is if there isn't support with respect to trainings. Because if you're not training our educators, then we they wouldn't be able to take those strategies, those skills to get the best out of their students or themselves as well. Maybe let's get them started on the journey. If we have educational leaders here who are decision makers, it, invest in your educators. And I do think so. This is one of the best investments that's going to go a long way. Do that, because again, I do feel like that, okay, yes, educators do want to, but at times they're constrained by these resources. We at times talk from the place of privilege. Okay, we have all of this, but maybe they don't have the access. They don't know where to start off from because the pace of development is really fast. So maybe let's get them started on by the baby step. What's step number one? Let's get them started. Let's give them the space to experiment, make mistakes, and then ask what worked, what didn't work. So this, I think, could be there. There's another response from, I think so, from Nomusa, if I'm
Nomusa.
pronouncing your name accurately. Nomusa. She says that, I think, our challenges are that there are no clear guidelines pronounced by the Department of Education on the use of AI, other than the UNESCO AI framework for AI competency, and this is South Africa.
Yep.
And Nomusa, let me tell you, the same case is in Pakistan as well. With respect to AI ethical policy guidelines, I think so within developing countries at the moment, underdeveloped countries at the moment, this is still being talked about. Educators, again, always are at the forefront of adopting it, looking into, okay, I want to give the best to my students, to myself. And most of the time, policymakers are a little behind when they talk about developing these policies, or the policies are going to be so generic that you're like, okay, I wonder how this is applicable. Any other?
Can I say something,
Yes,
Sana?
yes.
Is that the one thing I always, in terms of quality assuring your outcomes in when you use AI and to verify and fact check and stuff like that, I always tell people that use 4 or 5 tools with the same question and then check what is included, what is important, what can I leave out. And also I embrace failure in training as well, because they always laugh because every time I'll say there's many ways to kill a cat. If this doesn't work, this is another walkthrough. You can go this way. You can always try something different, and you don't have to be perfect, because perfection is something that will never work. We can strive.
I'm sorry, I would like to piggyback because that's what sounded when you said privilege. I heard that word so many times as an educator, privilege. And I started even asking my teachers as a leader, well, what is the definition of privilege? Privilege means trying out as much as possible, being curious, being innovative, actually being able to fail without feeling bad that I'm failing, and bringing in more things to the system, bringing in more conversations like this to engage and open up that space for educators so that we could do what we need to do. And then we talk about bringing that privilege in to the classroom for the students. But how are we making sure that we are providing the privilege to the educators and to the students if we are not allowing conversations like these, if we are not allowing the trainings that need to take place, if we are not allowing the failure to be on the table so that they can learn? Thomas Edison said it once, I have failed 1,000 times. I mean, you have Michael Jordan at the same time. The ones that are out here doing what we said is the true definition of privilege, they failed at some point in time before they got it right. And education, it's no different. There are so many avenues out here for us to learn from, but the very first thing that we got to do is take the privilege that we are given, take those frameworks that we're given, take those ed tech tools, take AI that we're given and apply them. Figure out what works and what doesn't work. Figure out what one teacher could gravitate to according to the other, and then talk about it. Bring it together as a system and talk about those tools that we could utilize. Talk about the different framework and how we can structure them to put it together for a greater use, because that is what it truly is, a greater use that is going to make a dramatic impact when we truly get it together and use it correctly.
Yeah. And let's take the conversation even further than that. What is education for anyways? I mean, we're educating our kids and the people that are going to be living within that society, because we want that nation to have progress, to succeed, to thrive. So we have really to dismantle a system that has been really not working for many decades, because we are going to be preparing, and it has been happening for a while. Since we're talking about privilege, why do we see that, of course, unprivileged schools or state schools are always behind? It's not because of the budget, it's because of the system that actually really doesn't work, because we're still goal oriented on knowledge that our kids can just go ahead and find on Google, or now in a very rustic way, do it with ChatGPT, not always necessarily asking the good questions, like with the good framework, and that education is going to be therefore superficial. So, if you want to build a good nation, if you want to empower your citizens, teach them not with the up trends that are coming out there, because artificial intelligence, for once and for all, for those school leaders and of course the policymakers, you have to understand that it's not just some trend that is going to happen. We're being forced into this new society where artificial intelligence is going to be everywhere in our lives. It has been already for more than a decade, but we just didn't know about that. So we actually have to get informed. And not only that, we actually do have to help this new generations to understand how to exist in an AI era, because otherwise we're not going to be failing as educators, we're going to be failing as a society, and basically as the nations of the world. So on that note, without getting too out there, I would also like to ask everybody here in the room, what are maybe like some strategies that you would like to take on, like some analysis that you have done, because probably you are into the AI conversation and you understand the needs. So, have you thought about like any strategies, or maybe something that we're overlooking in our ecosystems that maybe we could start working on? I know it usually takes a minute to let that information sink in, because I know it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I love the our heads all nodding in sync, like yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, people can make up their mind to contribute. I would like to take a conversation from here where Benita has left. Vanessa and Benita, do you agree that mindset also counts. Again, as both of you have very beautifully mentioned about failing and embracing the failures and all that, but I believe that it has for any change to be effective, it is the mindset that is the starting point. How you take up that change, how you want to proceed with that, and how much you are prepared to face all the challenges that will come in the way. So I would like to ask both of you, and that is our experience as well, my experience as well, that okay, fine, like you have trained hundreds of teachers, fine, they have learned the use of certain tools for their classrooms and all that. What are the gaps which you have identified or teachers have reported you back that okay, learning a thing, how to use that tool is something different, and then actually implementing that tool in the real classrooms? And then the third stage is that then what effect or what change or what improvement or no improvement they have observed in their students learning thing. So I'm more interested into this. And my second question is, beside this, that what you feel, because both of you are working with schools, both leaders and educators. So where you feel that is there any disconnect between the aspirations of ambitions of leaders and their educators? Thoughts?
Okay. I think for me, the disconnect is between the expectation in terms of outcomes and the infrastructure at schools, where we have a very rural province, so schools are not few and far between. So a teacher will sit with between 40 minimum in class, up to 70 learners in a class. The teacher is the one with the technology. Schools are or classrooms are learners are limited in terms of our policies contradict each other, because there's a cell phone policy that learners cannot use cell phones in class. And that is the huge disconnect, where most of the learners have smartphones. Or if not all, say if 20% have, they can share. They can sit in groups and use it together. But the policies in terms of technology integration and school cell phone policy use, it just doesn't gel. Also, in terms of connectivity, teachers are forced basically to use their own data at school, in class. I can just make the example. I go to work with my home router every day. I go to my trainings with my home router every day, and teachers then connect to my router, because it is not something that is just readily available. In terms of budgets, that is not one of the prioritized items on the budget. So, and everybody, some of my colleagues would say, I would never do that. And I would always say that I take away the frustration of my work by doing that. And the fact that the work goes on, it's done. I have something to report on, and teachers are exposed to. So, yeah, there's a huge disconnect, but you have to push through. And also, I want us to in my province too. That's why when Sana introduced me, I said, not the sage on the stage, the guide on the side. Because for me, there's still that mentality of the teacher is the one who should know everything. Failure is not part of the learning process. It is seen as something learners internalize. Our teachers in the system come out of a system where you were named and shamed. So they also don't want to be the learner in the process. And I always say, first attempt in learning, that's what fail is, the acronym of fail. First attempt in learning. You just move on to the second one. Okay.
I love that, Vanessa. I almost ran out of my seat while you were talking the whole time. Because I agree with everything, honestly. And I'm here in the United States. And I see the disconnect as well. Even if you go to a one-on-one school, you have a cell phone policy, and the students, each student throughout the school has their own personalized computer that was given to them by the district. But yet, you still tell the student, do not open up that computer while I am giving this lesson. That computer is not to be opened up until it is time to do the assignment. That is a fixed mindset. This is 21st century. How are we utilizing a whole computer? We have given out routers. The teachers have their own computer as well, but yet we're still stuck in a traditional brick and mortar. We're still making paper copies to give to the students because, as Andy said earlier, if you put a computer in front of the students, it will take away their critical thinking. How? And you have to ask yourself that. And as you said, I don't want to be the sage on the stage. I will always be the guide on the side because I am a lifelong learner. I'm not afraid to get out there and say, I'm going to try. And if I fail, I'm going to get back up and do it again. And as educators, we all have to do the same thing. Because when we embrace that, when we have that growth mindset, then everything is going to be good. When we mesh policy with expectation, because right now policy is just that, it's policy. There's no expectation. Because you could have it in the policy, what is read, what is expected, and it's bypassed. It's saying, okay, well, it's not like they're going to check it. So what are we putting in place to make sure that those technologies, the AI and everything else that you are giving the students and the teachers as far as district-wide and school-wide is being utilized? Because that's where you said the money is coming from in the budget. And if we're not going to do that, why not move the money and put it somewhere else? If technology is being deemed to be so lowered, if it's lowering critical thinking and everything else, why take the opportunity to make sure that each school is one-to-one, to make sure that each teacher has what they need to make sure that they could deliver a highly technical and high-class, tailored, top-tier instruction every day if we're going to keep a fixed mindset? Growth is gonna open up all the doors. Failure is gonna open up all the doors. But first of all, we need to make sure that as far as educators, we know what that framework is. We know what expectation is. We know that when we see it written down on paper, that is an expectation. It's not something that is bypassed. It's not something that we or the teachers determine, oh, it'll be okay. It's not like they're going to come in and check it anyway. We got to start putting those processes in place to make sure that we are checking in on the things that we have deemed that is necessary to be utilized.
Thanks, Benita. Well, Ulysses, you have been waiting so patiently. Please go ahead. Thank you so much for your patience. And I know that for those that are being active on the chat, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. But I am just like on the edge of my seat because I wish that this could be, like in person because there is such a great energy here. And I am learning so much and I cannot not anymore because it's like yes to all. So Ulysses, what is it that what is your take?
Okay, first of all, it's not about patience. It's like I much rather hear what other people have to say instead of myself. Um, but it was more about your question. What I would like to share, well, I work in a K-12 school that it's a private education. It belongs to a way bigger group. I believe it's the bigger education provider in the world. It's called YEMS. But the take or difference is that we are an American school in Dubai. There aren't too many American schools in here. Most of the schools are either local or British. So we had that dilemma because first we needed to wait for the corporate's policy, strategy, framework, and all those things. But at the end, we ended up creating our ours because we knew that many things were not going to be uh, as designed for us as we should, since we are like the different one. So we took the initiative. We started to experiment ourselves to get resources from all over the world. Again, since we're an American school and we're mostly aligned with Connecticut's educational system, well, we took some information from there. We are also using University of Birmingham in Dubai. They have a very cool canvas that requires a full reflection on who we are as as a school, I would say. So we can come up with the proper framework that works perfectly for us. So again, you talk about privilege. I think I'm very privileged. We have an center of excellence for AI and robotics for the last 7 years. We've been teaching machine learning, AI for the last 7, 8 years. So our teachers are very familiar with the concept. But I mean, 2, 3 years ago, when generative AI boomed and we started to use it, we didn't get the proper guidance. I mean, we experimented a lot. I can say that 95% of my teachers are very tech savvy. But we having this deep reflection that I talk about, where we need to understand who we are as institution, what we want. We have the resources available. We know that the teachers are using it, but what we want to get from this, it's what excites me the most because we've been talking about teachers, which excites me a lot because sometimes we tend to forget us. Like the educators go at the end first. We need to make sure that the students are learning. We need to make sure that the parents are happy, but we never think of the teachers. But having these conversations allow us to keep that reflection on, okay, our teachers are properly trained. Do they know? Do they want? How to keep them motivated? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I will share with you the canvas that I talk about because I think that it promotes this deep reflection for each institution because it's okay. We need to make sure that we're following COPA's things and or I don't know ISTIS or who you are aligned to or UNESCO's whatever. But we also need to know what we want, like the people we're working with. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And by the way, Skilling Future, I love what you're doing with your webinars. I already share the webinar you started like a month ago with the rest of my teachers. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. That means a lot. Yay. Well, on that note, thank you, Ulysses, for your comments. Guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but Sana has like given a poll. Yes? Are we good with that poll? Yes? Did we
Yes.
finish it? Okay. We don't want to make it over an hour, okay? Because we want people wanting more for next time. So we're going to wrap up from here. But on Ulysses' last words about like why is it that we have to embrace artificial intelligence? It's not that we have to. It's just that we really need to reconsider the environment where we are living in. We have to catch up, and it's not the same playing catch up than with a purpose and with intention, understanding the fundamentals of how artificial intelligence can benefit the life of our students, our teachers, parents, and therefore provide a valid education for the now and not for something that might have been, useful like 20 or 30 years ago. Okay, so I would like to tell you that the notes that we have been taking are going to be shared with all the participants, so you can keep on thinking further on your own time. We would add some contributions from Skilling Future and maybe some possible solutions that could come out handy. So, Sana, would you like to add anything else that maybe I have left out there that I have forgotten?
Um, Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your perspectives, for uh, sharing that. Okay, what are in case of Vanessa? There's one of our participants who's talking about that. Okay, Nomusa, she says that, okay, how she started a study group for about 10 teachers who have mastered one AI tool that can be shared with a bigger pool. And this is, I think, so this is what will, in the longer run, going to make a difference. Okay, us starting something, having these conversations, getting to know, okay, what is it that all of us are trying? Where is it that we're moving ahead? And then, yes, the idea of AI replacing teachers, the human in the loop approach, whatever that is, it is these conversations that are going to matter in the longer run. Because that's where we'll get to see, okay, this is what's ongoing. This is what is there. Oh, interestingly, across the globe, our issues kind of are the same. We are facing similar challenges. Okay, what solution is it that you've tested out? What solution is it that, okay, maybe I can learn something from there? And then I really like Namusa's idea. Okay, for somebody, let's start off with this from one tool, one idea, one educator. Ulysses' ideas that, okay, what they are doing within their context and why this is a conversation that is so important. So thank you so much to each and every one of you for sharing your ideas, from sharing your perspective. We look forward to having you in our future sessions as well. Do fill in the feedback form so we can see what can we do further in our upcoming sessions.
Well, thank you everybody for allowing us to have a spectacular first session. We hope, to keep raising the bar for the next ones. And let's see how that goes. Thank you so much, Vanessa, Benita, for all of you who have participated in the chat, and for those who have decided to speak up. We really appreciate it, and well, see you out there. Let's see each other next time. The next one is going to be by the end of the month. So we will see each other hopefully very soon because time flies. So thank you for coming, and let's see each other out there. Bye, everybody. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Have an amazing July.
Thank you for
Bye,
coming.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Thank you so much, Benita. Thank you,
Thank
Andy,
you.
and thank you, Sana, for a wonderful session today.
Bye.
Thank